Why is it that at work, you're always the calm one, the reliable one, the person who can handle pressure? The more people trust you, the more exhausted you feel. Why is it that in social situations, you rarely express discomfort, refusal, or vulnerability? You know exactly how to respond in a way that feels appropriate, that doesn't cause trouble. Yet after all those compromises, you feel less and less like yourself. And why is it that when you're finally alone, with no role to play, no expectations to meet, no one to perform for, what you feel isn't relief, but a quiet, unsettling emptiness? If any of this feels familiar, then today's conversation is not about telling you to be more authentic, and it's not about encouraging you to escape responsibility or social rules. What we're talking about today is a psychological structure almost every modern person relies on, often without realizing it. The persona. And why, the more you depend on it to survive, to be accepted, to be needed, the heavier your life can begin to feel. More distant, more disconnected, and slowly, harder to recognize as your own. You didn't put on a persona because you wanted to pretend. You put it on because you learned. Without it, you wouldn't be taken seriously. At work, you learn to manage your emotions, hide hesitation, and present yourself as competent and dependable, not because this is who you always were, but because it felt safer. In unfamiliar environments, you instinctively adjust your tone, your expressions, your posture to appear appropriate, easy to work with, low risk. You quickly realize something important. Society isn't waiting for your full complexity. It wants clarity, stability, predictability. So you begin to tuck away uncertainty and lead with maturity, confidence, and control. This isn't fake, it's adaptation. In psychology, this is called the persona, the version of you that can be recognized, accepted, and trusted. It functions like a protective shell. It helps you enter systems, secure a position, and avoid being rejected too early. In many critical moments, this shell absorbs the first wave of judgment and pressure on your behalf. So the persona itself is not the problem. The real question has never been why you put it on, but whether you still have permission to take it off when you no longer need it. Exhaustion rarely begins the moment you put on a persona. It begins much later, when you realize you haven't taken it off for a very long time. You may have grown used to being the emotionally stable one, the competent one, the person who can always handle things. People rely on you more, they trust you more, they expect more from you. And from the outside, that looks like success. But inside, you know how heavy it feels. Because a persona does not run on autopilot. It requires constant self-monitoring. You're always checking, should I say this? Is this reaction acceptable? Will this emotion make me look unprofessional? Every pause, every adjustment, every moment of swallowing discomfort costs psychological energy. And when there is no place to release that tension, no pause, no safe space, no moment of being unobserved, fatigue begins to accumulate. You get home, but your body stays alert. You're alone, yet you feel more drained than before. Not because you failed, not because you're weak, but because you've been performing. Psychology shows that maintaining a single role for too long without returning to a genuine internal state creates chronic inner depletion. You don't feel rested because rest requires the absence of performance, and slowly, you forget when it became acceptable to stop acting. This is the moment the persona begins to shift from protection to consumption. The most dangerous moment is not when you put on the persona. It's when you forget that it is a role. When people praise you for being reliable, mature, put together, you stop simply feeling recognized and start fearing its loss. You become more cautious, more controlled, less forgiving of yourself. You hesitate to fail. You suppress emotion. You avoid saying no. Because beneath it all, the fear is no longer about mistakes. It's about identity. If this cracks, who am I without it? At this point, the persona stops being a tool. It becomes who you are. In psychology, this is called over-identification with a role. You're no longer playing a part, you're confined to it. Your sense of value begins to depend on performance. Your right to exist feels conditional. And the moment you fall short, shame, panic, and self-doubt rush in. You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid that failure means you are no longer valid. This is where emptiness begins. Because the more you live as the persona, the further you drift from your real emotions, desires, and needs. You may appear successful, functional, admired, yet feel strangely disconnected from what you actually want. Your life hasn't collapsed, but something inside you has quietly gone missing. This isn't laziness, it isn't weakness. It's what happens when a role replaces the self. A persona by itself does not harm you. What causes damage is making it flawless. When your image allows only competence, stability, and success, any deviation starts to feel dangerous. You spend more and more energy maintaining consistency. You become afraid of being seen through, afraid of vulnerability, afraid of anything unpredictable. But real life never cooperates with perfection. Mistakes happen, conflicts appear, limits are reached, and when pressure exceeds what the mask can hold, cracks begin to form. The pain that follows is often doubled. One layer comes from reality, the failure, the loss, the mistake. The other comes from identity, the collapse of who you believed you were. Psychology refers to this as role collapse trauma. You don't just lose performance, you lose the structure that once held your self-worth together. This is why people who seem completely fine on the outside can unravel so quickly when something goes wrong. Without the mask, they don't know what remains. The more your persona became your entire identity, the less you can tolerate its fracture. And the deepest damage is not public judgment. It's the moment you begin to reject yourself. You realize you were never too fragile. You were simply never allowed to exist without armor. This is why the more perfect the mask, the more devastating the fall. Not because you weren't strong enough, but because you carried it alone for far too long. Real growth is not about tearing the mask away. It's about recognizing that you are wearing one. The persona is not your enemy. It protected you, helped you be seen, allowed you to be trusted, accepted, and needed. At many moments, it absorbed pressures you weren't yet ready to face. The problem was never the mask itself. The problem begins when it becomes the only way you believe you deserve love. When you can say, "This is me performing a role," not "this is all that I am," something inside you begins to loosen. You stop treating every interaction as a test, every mistake as a verdict. You realize you don't need to be perfect everywhere. You don't need to be correct all the time. You don't need constant self-sacrifice to justify your worth. When you allow yourself to rest in unimportant moments, to be real in safe relationships, to exist without performance when no one is watching, you begin to reclaim control. You still wear the mask when needed, but it no longer controls you. You can be competent without proving it endlessly, reliable without erasing yourself. You can be valued without trading your identity for approval. True freedom is not living without a mask. It's remembering that beyond it, you are already enough. This is Felix. May you understand yourself more deeply and treat the growing version of you with patience and care. See you next time.